the way the bet works is we had a side bet and we just play, and either player can quit. They just lose the side bet at that point. It's the same as losing the match. And so
which was the side bet at that? I forget the exact odds or whatever.
So compared to the amount the amount I was losing in the match, it wasn't that much. I laid him 2-1 on a small side. I mean, it's relatively small side bet for the stakes. I think I would win 100K. He would win 200K.
That's a lot of salaries for a lot of people out there.
It is, yes.
You got to be careful. I know. I'm giving a hard time. In comparison to what could happen. Right. It's
in comparison to being down 900K. Right. The 200K I'd lose in the side bet was a smaller amount. But at that point, like, my decision was tough because I was basically drawing near dead to actually make a comeback and win. Have that 300K swing of losing 200 to winning 100. But I felt like I had felt for most of the match like I was a favorite. But of course was starting to question that given the results. I mean, the results were just really, really bad. And so I had to decide if I wanted to keep fighting in a spot where, I wasn't expecting to have any shot to actually win outright, but I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I could beat him or at least hold my own. And felt like, I decided to come back and keep playing, and I kind of made it my personal goal to be above break even for the rest of the match, maybe win, a quarter of it back. And we came back and it kind of went exactly the other way as it was going. And I was winning most sessions early and not quite as quickly as he did in the early going, but pretty close. And by the time we got to, 22,000 hands, we were back to even, which is not a scenario that I imagined. I was never expecting one of these matches to be decided within the last 1,000 hands. I thought they'd already be set, but we actually went into the final day within a buy-in of each other. I think he was up like 10, 15K in the final day. Mm-hmm. And it just made for a very compelling match. Like we were probably getting on Twitch, I want to say like 1,000, 1,500 viewers normally, and on the final day we had over 25,000 just watching the final day of the match because it was so intense. And anyways, I mean, long story short, I won with, I managed to win enough to fold out with like, I don't know, I want to say 40 hands left or 20 hands left. I forget what it was. That final day really felt similar to like a World Series final table. Like just, the feeling the whole time. And I think honestly, it was more intense than any win, even though, in the end of the match, I won like €1,000. I was up a few big blinds and the side bet. So I've had bigger scores, but it definitely felt a lot more intense because, I mean, it was a, 3+ month journey. And it's, a lot of people said when we were like 3,000 hands left in the match and I had gotten it close to even, people are like, well, you already won, making a comeback like this is amazing. But, you want to finish the story, making a massive comeback and then losing by one buy-in is, there was a lot emotionally riding on it for both of us. And actually, as hard as the early going was for me, I think probably the second half on him is even harder emotionally to deal with because like I'm going, like I had some things I was dealing with, like it was such a public stage for me and I was getting embarrassed, frankly. But for him, he just felt, I'm sure, like he was crushing me and, he was going to keep winning and there's basically zero chance I would make the comeback. And so to have that bad of a downswing after that, like you said, he is a really good sport. He handled it extremely well in all of our conversations. And even after the fact, like he was still happy he played the challenge. He said it ended up being a big net positive for him. He came out a lot stronger a player. He was in shockingly good spirits about the whole thing. I was very impressed by that. I think there are definitely different ways to approach videos. I know some people who watch even videos that are not part of a course. They just watch a video and are taking notes and pausing it and they go back over their kind of file of notes from different videos and their learnings, and they write down key takeaways. For me, I think it's about knowing yourself. For me personally, I like to watch videos more passively. And the reason for that is, I only have so many hours in a day that I can do like intense focused work before I burn out. And I learned this kind of more than ever recently in these challenges, where I was trying to just like play these challenges, then spend a few hours working on the business, then spend a few hours studying. And it was just like, I couldn't keep my level of focus. And so the way I like to learn is, I do some focused work, on like hand history review, database review, or solvers, but then I watch videos more passively and it doesn't burn me out. So like that's how I personally like to watch videos. I know some people watch them very actively and like I said, take notes and kind of, post a lot of questions to the video maker, which obviously you can do. It's not my personal preference because I just like to conserve my energy. But I think you can do it either way. And the benefit of these courses, and specifically pads on pads, is, well, I guess actually all the courses, they're well structured, and so you can, if you want, just focus on pre-flop, and whether you're taking notes or you watch the whole pre-flop section twice, or you watch it through and you go back and be like, okay, well, I realized that like I don't totally get blind versus blind 3-bet pots or something. Then you go back and watch that one again, maybe with more focus. I think, well, the successful part is the easy part, but even as a successful poker player, you have long periods where you're not successful. And I think the hardest part is, staying motivated and focused during downswings, because, poker is unlike, a 9 to 5, where if you're in a bad mood and you're unfocused, you show up and clock in and you're going to take home the same paycheck most of the time. In poker, if you show up, you're depressed about losing, you're not sleeping, you're unfocused, you show up, you're going to lose more. And so I think that poker as a career, and this is probably true of, it's true of running a business perhaps, and it's true of like trading, other things where you're kind of not just paid a consistent salary. It's just the hardest part is keeping the motivation and focus during hard times. I was playing, it was 100, 200, heads up, no limit against Daniel Alai. This was 2005, 2006, maybe. And I'd played all day. It was really late. It was like 1 a.m. and I'd been playing all day. And we get into this pot where I think he 3-bets, I call, he bets flop, I raise with I had a straight flush draw. I don't remember the exact board. But I raised, to call it off. And he disconnected and get the 90-second disconnection time bank starts counting down. And I was like, oh, well, I really have to pee. So I have 90 seconds, so I'll just go. I wasn't thinking. So I just go to the bathroom, and obviously he came back before his 90-second time. He reconnected and shoved while I was in the bathroom, and I timed out before I got back and folded my hand.
Wow.
Because I was just like, I saw the 90 seconds. I was really tired. I was like, oh, I have 90 seconds. Got to go. And wasn't thinking. And then there's a hand I played. This is maybe harder to follow because it's a game that is not commonly played. But there's a hand I played recently, like a few years ago, against Jungleman live. And we were playing pot limit, double draw, high. So it's 5-card draw, but you get 2 draws.
Okay.
And long story short is there's a spot where like he's representing trips and I have a flush draw. And there's 1 draw to come, and I was like, I don't know if I believe him. Maybe I do, but I have some outs if not. So like he bets, he pots, and I shove for like barely any more, 30% more, thinking like, okay, well, if he doesn't have trips, then he's just going to fold, and if he does, I have outs.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up having trips and folding, and I was so confused until I realized that actually all the draws were done. I thought there was 1 more draw, and I was semi bluffing, but I was just pure bluffing river because there were no more draws to come, and he just didn't believe I would bluff like that, so he just snap folded trips. But so that was a positive mental misclick. Yeah.
Wow. What was sort of an aha moment in poker for you, if there is any?
There are a bunch. It's hard to go. I'm going to do one more that's more recent because I just can't remember all the ones on the way back. But I think a realization that I had that, that I could argue is part of the reason that I made a comeback against Veni is during that break, the shift was I went from trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my range, like facing a river bet, like, oh, am I in the top X% of my range to call here, or am I not? I shifted from that to hand reading. And when you're just trying to defend, 60% of your range, you're assuming that your opponent plays perfectly, or that you can't do better than that by hand reading. But one thing that I think is a huge skill in poker, and one that I've been strong at for a long time, is figuring out, based on all their actions throughout the hand, whether they're going to be over bluffing or under bluffing. And I think that it's important to keep in mind, like, oh, I'm like at the top 20% of my range. So even though I don't believe him, or sorry, even though I really believe him, like, this is too good to fold, I have to give him some credit and call this hand. It's important to have that in mind for, like, so you don't make too many really extreme plays against good players. But yeah, I think that if you're just trying to defend exactly appropriately, you're kind of turning off a skill,
right?
In a sense, and that's what I was trying to do, and what I changed. The main thing I changed in that time.